ice is dropped on another round of Soccer's morning show. Soccer Down Here. John, hear you there. Busy, traditional Wednesday, Wall Pass Wednesday kind of a thing because we've got a lot of international news going on. We've got to talk about yesterday, the stuff that we didn't talk about yesterday that still might be on your mind. Traditional guests on your Wednesday, Bart Keeler is going to join us at 10:30 because there's a lot to talk about from the international sphere when it comes to the United States, and a lot of reffing down here that we can get into. And there's stuff involving TV shows and classes and the PGMOL and what we'd like to see and all this kind of stuff. So Bart will be hanging out with us at 10:30. Hopefully Dylan Butler can drop by. One of the busiest men in show business. He's the busiest man in show business in the Northeast. And so if Dylan can drop by at 10, we'll hang out with Dylan at 10 o'clock and get his thoughts on Major League Soccer and anything else on his mind. Bart Keeler at 10:30. So stacked hour number 2. Hour number 1, we catch up with the news of the morning. And Wayne Rooney is now officially official at Birmingham City. And there's fallout from that already. People are mad. They have the people's eyebrow being raised about Wayne Rooney's hiring and John Eustace getting sacked and the front office asking for patience and all these kinds of things. And so Bill Foley. Okay, this is interesting. So it looks like Bill Foley might be diving into the A-League. And Foley, remember, he got his Stanley Cup banner raising last night, opening night of the National Hockey League for the 23-24 season. And, of course, the Vegas Golden Knights pulled their Stanley Cup banner out of a slot machine. Very, very cool presentation. Congrats to Bill Foley. Congrats to VGK. Now, what do you do for an encore? That's the big question. Secured the license for the new Auckland franchise that will join the new A-League. And so, we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and do this. Why the heck not? It's early, but why the heck not? When it comes to doing things early on, what the heck? I see now. This is what happens. You get breaking news, then all of a sudden. I don't know how breaking it is, but we'll go ahead and treat it as breaking news since it's the first time that we've seen it. Bill Foley, estimated worth of $1.6 billion U.S., named the preferred bidder for the new Auckland club, joining the men's and women's competitions in 24-25. Black Knight Football and Entertainment, owning Bournemouth, FC Lorient, owns the Vegas Golden Knights. Already has links with New Zealand as the owner of multiple Kiwi businesses, including Foley Wines, a restaurant group, and the Warkahau Lodge on the Wairarapa coast. Genuine appreciative love for New Zealand. Look to strengthen the connection even further by acquiring an A-League expansion license in Auckland. And you end up with Black Knight Football Club operates with a commitment to excellence. Gee, this sounds like a press release. Football Australia is also set to approve Foley's license bid, which will then be endorsed by the Asian and Oceania Football Confederations and New Zealand Football. A-League Commissioner Nick Garcia said Foley would bring direct elite football experience to the competition. Importantly, Bill is passionate about Auckland, has a long-term relationship with New Zealand through his business interests. Auckland has been the largest city in Australia and New Zealand without a professional football team, despite being the most popular team participation sport nationally in New Zealand. Look forward to building on the success of the FIFA Women's World Cup, providing fans in Auckland with their new home team. So Bill Foley not messing around. Bill Foley is not messing around, people. Morning, Alex. Bill Foley adds to Bournemouth and Lorient with the new franchise in the A-League. I guess it's already going to sound like one of those mornings where we might be just bouncing around all over the place. So Bill Foley adding to his portfolio. I tried to see if that made sense. I just tried to see if that made sense. But so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So Bill Foley looks like he's adding clubs to his list of stuff as he continues to chase after staying in top flights with Bournemouth and Iraola. It's going to be a real challenge this year, but we'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. Opening kickoff Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code, and I try to cover up the second QR code because that's hour number 2. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Facebook, on Twitch, and on the Twitters. We might be adding YouTube just for the sake of having video and audio on YouTube. So we're looking into that. But that's your QR code for those of you who are watching on any of those 3 formats right now. And at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, thanks for everybody who has started their day and kicked off their day. See what I did there? With Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, meaning our friends at Kickoff Coffee. They take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I'm going to take my hand down because that's the QR code for hour number 2. I'm going to learn how to do that faster. But big shout out to everybody at Oglethorpe last night. For those of you that haven't had the chance, you'll be able to listen to the pre-game show and the post-game show coming up on the network if they're not already posted. But Oglethorpe and Emory, for those of you that haven't had the chance, it is one of the big soccer rivalries here in the Southeast, one of the longest-running rivalries in the state of Georgia. Been around since the early 1960s. 61, I think, was the year of the first one. You had just under 500 folks last night at Oglethorpe for this Division III battle. Emory was ranked number 3 in the country for the first time in 2 decades. And they were coming to Oglethorpe. Oglethorpe has, you look at the wins and losses and catching up with head coach John Aiken of your Stormy Petrels of Oglethorpe. It was... it has been very divergent. I think 24 of the 31 or 25 of the 31 have been won by Emory. But in the last handful of years, Oglethorpe has closed margins, and they've won some matches and had a couple of win streaks and such. And so Oglethorpe had won 7 in a row coming in, and they were hosting last night, chasing after a conference title in the SAA. Emory ranked number 3 in the country, chasing after a title in the UAA. And so what you've got is you've got all of this conference play. And then on a quick turn, you've got to parachute into a rivalry game. And then you've got to jump back out of that and get back in the conference play for your stretch run. So it was very hotly contested last night. No real surprise. And Oglethorpe jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first half, 2-1 at the break. Early second half, Emory gets your equalizer to tie it at 2, and for the final 35 minutes or so, it was back and forth, and it was as chippy as you would expect. But 2-2, honors even by the time it was done. The question now is, for you, D3 voter, what do you do? Right now, Oglethorpe is not even in the receiving votes category, yet you've tied the number 3 team in the country. So we'll see what happens when it comes to voting and polls next week, and what it might look like for Oglethorpe, and what happens with Emory, and how far does Emory drop down the poll for tying a team that should have been receiving votes if not being ranked, and they're not ranked. And so traditionally you sit there, we all know about polls where, okay, you lose to a team, or you draw to a team that isn't ranked. How does that impact your standings? We'll keep an eye on that. See how it is. But 2 really good D3 programs going at it last night with Emory and Oglethorpe. Thanks to everybody at Oglethorpe for making it happen, and thanks to Emory for being a part of our pregame show. And Coach Grenier, it was great to catch up with him and see Clayton Schmidt, who we know from our high school season from his time at Holy Innocents. So, no, it was a fun time last night. It was great to be able to see and let everybody experience what Oglethorpe and Emory is. So it was a very, very cool time for everyone and everybody there. It was great to see, and Chris, by the way, it was great to see Hutch last night. He came by the booth before we went on the air, and Hutch goes, Jason was right. They wanted to play last night. If not for an outstanding save by Emory's keeper in the first half, Oglethorpe would have likely won the game last night. New font. Wow, okay, a new font. We got to remember that. That's cool. And so very, very cool to catch up with Hutch as he came wandering by the booth last night before we went on with the pregame show. But once again, it was kind of a reminder for all of us, and we mentioned it on Atlanta Soccer Tonight. And Jason actually put up with me as being a guest on Atlanta Soccer Tonight last night on 92.9 The Game of the Odyssey app. It's a reminder about supporting lower divisions and supporting your local squads, whatever we're talking about. If it's high school, if it's college, if it's small college, if it's lower division professional, because we always talk about rising tide lifts all boats. And it was one of those, instances where if you hadn't had the chance to see a rivalry like that, it was just a reminder that when those opportunities are presented to us, to go ahead and sample it. Because then what you can do is you can spread your exposure to a particular match, to a particular rivalry, to a particular part of the state or the region that you haven't had the chance to be a part of. You can share it with everybody else. Hey, I was at X last night. I was at the regular season home finale of South Georgia Tormenta, or I was at the regular season finale up at CHI Memorial for our friends with the Chattanooga Red Wolves. And they had their home finale last week. You've got Greenville, you've got Clovers and NISA, you've got the lower divisions, you've got the indoor league coming up, you've got high school, you've got college going on right now, all these different things. And we get to share these experiences and expand our vision of what we've had the chance to sample and sit there and go, yeah, man, I saw this great D3 rivalry last night, those kinds of things. And you can catch the replay at gopetrels.com on the Oglethorpe Sports Network. Jason on the call, and you were thinking that fifth goal was going to come. It did not, but it was a really tight game last night. Very, very cool. And thanks to everybody who made it happen at Oglethorpe, everybody that was there last night to sample what was going on for a great rivalry with Oglethorpe and Emory. Yesterday, I forgot to mention this before we went off the air. Yesterday was International Mental Health Awareness Day. And just quickly, it's a reminder on a bunch of different fronts. Norwich City came out with a fantastic video about checking in on those around you. And just remember, it's okay not to be okay, first and foremost. I know that Ian Joy makes a point to remind us of that and about all of his struggles as a player. And then once he leaves the career of playing the sport and trying to be a solid broadcaster. And so go to Ian's 280 character app and all his social media, and it's a great reminder of what the day is all about. But like I said, Norwich City came up with a fantastic video, and BAM is doing the public service by reminding us where it is on the 280 character app. So watch it and just be reminded it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask. Trust me, there are times when you think you're imposing, but you're really not, because someone really wants to share what's going on in a difficult time. So don't be afraid to ask. Be there for those around you, and make sure that once again, you remind yourself it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to take alone time. It's okay to sit there and try to piece things together. It's okay to take a deep breath sometimes. It's okay. But at the same time, it's all right to ask, because sometimes you want to let everybody know what's going on. So just a simple reminder, but Norwich City did a fantastic job with that video yesterday that was published and released. So very, very cool stuff from them as well. That's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There is your QR code. This is when I try to do it when I cross my hand over. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. 15% off your purchase. They enter, take 10%, reinvest it in the youth games and youth initiatives that they come across that they deem worthy. Very, very cool stuff as you kick off your day with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Maybe that's how I'm supposed to do it. Since I'm dominant left-handed, just to give you an idea. I mean, you see how the setup is here in the office. I'm left-handed, and technically I'm ambidextrous, but being left-handed And you know the setup here with the camera and the monitor and the multiple computers off to my left. I've learned and I've adapted to take my computer mouse, and I've got it on my left-hand side. I used to do crossover, like how you do video games. If you were left-handed and you would cross over with firing functions and things like that. I've gradually learned over time to, while I've got the crossover working, I can take a wireless mouse and have it on my left-hand side and basically use it as a left-handed mouse. And so, you learn that kind of thing. And just these little things about navigating what we do on a daily basis. But yeah, on the left-hand side of the screen, I've tried to turn as many things left-handed as possible. And just to prove it to you, let me lift the mouse up real quick. There you go. See, left hand has the mouse. And it took a little while for me to do that, but maybe with the mouse on the left-hand side, if I'm trying to do a crossover here, then maybe, blot out the QR code for hour number 2 with the right hand while I'm working with the left hand. So there you go. News of the morning, Wayne Rooney officially official with Birmingham City. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. Rob Harris has a story out of the UK and our friends at Sky News. Question to the floor. Morning, Abby. How many of you deal in crypto? How many of you deal in crypto? I don't. Heard it's Brentwood birthday. Well done. How many of you deal in crypto? Show of hands. I don't. Because I have this thing about imaginary currency with no backing. And Hutch says Hamas are seeking donations in Bitcoin. That might not be worth a whole lot. But, yeah, it's no real money only. And so I'm like, that's the only way that I do things is like in real money. Rob Harris has come out with a story, and it involves the British government. So we'll warn you about that going in. Headline: Football clubs should be prevented. Football clubs should be prevented from selling crypto-based fan tokens as a part of engagement with supporters by the sport's incoming regulator, according to a cross-party committee of members of parliament. In their report, Culture, Media, and Sport Committee warns about the volatility of prices and the risk of financial harm to supporters who are convinced to buy the tokens for club access and rewards. I don't know of any of that happening here. On this side of the planet, I know that we have the advertising and the TV stuff with like Matt Damon and Tom Brady and all that kind of stuff. Morning, Sharif. So I know that it exists. I don't know what the extent of the investment is, but the MPs are kind of mad. CMS committee chair Dame Caroline Dinenage, MP, said in the world of sport, clubs are promoting volatile crypto asset schemes to extract additional money from loyal supporters, often with promises of privilege and perks that fail to materialize. Fan token schemes must not be used as a substitute for meaningful engagement with supporters. Socios, we know them. Socios is singled out by MPs as a sports crypto assets marketplace. Man, there's a lot of big words early this morning. A sports crypto assets marketplace to generate cash from fans in exchange for apparent access that does not always deliver on expectations. Committee report said the unique relationship between clubs and fans means fan speculation on sport-based crypto assets carries a real risk of financial harm to fans and reputational harm to clubs. Also concerned clubs may present fan tokens as an appropriate form of fan engagement in the future, despite their price volatility and reservations among fan groups. Government is planning to legislate to introduce a regulator for English football next year. Regulator systems being set up to force clubs to prove their business models are financially sound and they have good corporate governance before being allowed to compete. Socio says it has deals with more than 100 teams, including Premier League champs Man City and Arsenal. Socios, which has Lionel Messi as a brand ambassador, said it could not attend a session to provide evidence. Of course not. Did not directly address the criticism, but in a statement, they said fan token holders received more than 24,000 match day tickets, over 1,000 items of merchandise last season. continue to engage with their clubs in a unique new way. Fan tokens offer new and complementary benefits to clubs' traditional fan engagement beyond the boundaries of geography, and unlike NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which have really caught hell, are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Socios website flashes up a bunch of warnings. Value can go down or up, not regulated, may have to pay taxes on any profits. On crypto exchanges, the value of chilies has plummeted from 25 cents to around 5 cents in 2 years. But I wanted to ask about crypto and availabilities of crypto, and if any of you guys have dived into that or knew anybody or know anybody that has those kinds of things. I guess that's more of a continuation of opening kickoff, just as an asking of a question. Wayne Rooney is officially official at Birmingham City. And if you were a front office, and this was released this morning before we came on the air, Wayne Rooney has pledged, I don't know if he had his hand over his heart and the other hand in the air, pledged to take Birmingham City back into the Premier League after being confirmed as the new manager. Officially complete after the former striker signed a 3.5-year deal worth about £5 million. First training session Thursday, unveiled in a press conference at St. Andrews later in the day. Rooney said he's ready to deliver ambitious American owners Knighthead Capital Management a place in the Premier League. He replaces John Eustace. Statement released. My job is to elevate the club to the next level. Can't wait to get started. Know what the expectations are, and our job is to deliver. Very clear they have a plan, are committed to realizing their ambition for the club. Statement. Birmingham will have been out of the top division for 13 years next summer, 6th in the championship table. And much like we said yesterday, Ashley Cole in, Johnny O'Shea in, Carl Robinson in, analyst Pete Shuttleworth in. He'll be pitted in his first match back against Michael Carrick, who is the manager currently at Middlesbrough. Tom Wagner, Birmingham chair, comes out with a 2-sentence statement, actually 3 or 4. Now, Tuesday, Birmingham City said John Eustace was dismissed after a misalignment with the leadership of the club. In a lengthy statement, Chief Executive Gary Cook pleaded for supporters to back the judgment of the owners. Now, this is where we kind of take things slowly and kind of purse our way through this. Chief Exec Gary Cook pleaded for supporters to back the judgment of the owners. Y'all be cool, hang out with us, back the owner's decision. And I know that obviously you've got Wayne Rooney, you've got the star power that's attached, and it's like, okay, hey, look, we're bringing in Wayne Rooney. Just be cool with the decision we made. We were 6th. We fired our manager. Eustace would be forever remembered for the job he performed at St. Andrews. Gary Cook, quote, never a good time to make such a decision. Like when you're 6th on the table? You need to process all of the opinions and reach the best outcome for the future. John had clear ambitions and goals for the season. Unfortunately, following a series of meetings over a number of months, it became clear that there was a misalignment with the leadership of the club. Gets them to safety a couple matches before the end of the season. Finishing 17th, I think. You're 6th right now, which is putting you on the edge of the championship playoffs. You are in the promotion playoff right now. You're also, I think, 3 points out of 3rd. John had clear ambitions and goals. Unfortunately, following a series of meetings over a number of months, it became clear that it was a misalignment with the leadership of the club. When this happens, the best thing to do is to part company. The timing of the decision allows the incoming manager sufficient time to evaluate the playing staff ahead of the January and summer transfer windows. You're 6th. You're 6th. You want to continue to evaluate. If they want to invest, cool. Fantastic. That's great. You want to invest? Go for it. Birmingham City is 18 points. Sorry, they're 2 points out of third. But as we know, this is a street fight. Championship is a street fight. Right now, 3 through 10 separated by 3 points. Getting into the playoff would be Birmingham City at 18 points. 6 through 15 separated by 3 points. So basically 5 points separating 3 from 15. It's crazy. Not a shock. But the timing of the decision allows the incoming manager sufficient time to evaluate the playing staff ahead of the January and summer transfer windows. You want to talk about pressure being on? Pressure's on now. Not just for Rooney and his staff, but for that front office and the ownership group. Cook continued. Tom Wagner, the chairman, has been very clear with the ownership's ambition for Birmingham City. It is to make the club a beacon for sporting excellence. I feel like I should have music underneath me. And to proudly be at the center of Birmingham's community. There is a plan, and every decision we take is with the club's best interest at heart. The owners and board members are ambitious, driven to help make Birmingham City a football powerhouse. It will not happen overnight. But John Eustace sure as hell did a good job of making sure that you were a part of the discussion. 2 points out of third, and you sack him. It is a step-by-step approach. We are well aware of what has happened at Blues over the past decade. We believe we've moved on from those dark days, giving hope for aspiration. Our intent is to be judged over what we do in the years to come, be ambitious with the new story we are writing. Trust us. We're bringing in Wayne Rooney. You better be right. You better be right. That's all I can say. You better be blanking right. 3.5-year deal. You sacked John Eustace, who had you 2 points out of third. Birmingham began talks with Rooney just hours after sacking Eustace on Monday. One of the worst-kept secrets. Because we talked about it. There is no denying what Wayne Rooney did at Derby County. No denying it whatsoever. With all of the financial problems that Derby had, including points deductions, he actually had, with more financial problems, he had a better winning percentage than he did at DC United. A better winning percentage than at DC United. 85 matches, he won 24. Winning percentage of .282. DC United, 53 matches, he was 14, 14, and 25. Winning percentage of 26.4%. But with all of the ish going on around him at Derby County, and he did a fantastic job there. He had a better winning percentage than he did at DC United. Rooney released a couple of paragraphs as a part of what's going on. 21 wins in 63 games, so basically 1/3 of the matches John Eustace was in, he won. 15 months in charge. 3-1 win over West Brom. But, yeah, we're kind of like, we'll bring in Wayne Rooney. The American owners wanted to make a splash. John Eustace, despite everything he'd done, 2 points out of third place, was not making a splash. Saved him from relegation, finished 17th, started the season out well. And now, here's where you are. I mean, it was a 21-point deduction. 21-point deduction that he had to deal with at Derby County. And a lot of folks are saying, plenty to prove, perfect pairing, all these kinds of things. But Wayne Rooney, more specifically the ownership group at Birmingham City, including Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's getting stick on social media They fired John Eustace. Like Tom Brady has some immediate impact on all this kind of stuff. Legitimately, Tom Brady is getting stick on the 280 character app for everything that he may or may not have any idea about. Like, bruh, I'm just here investing money or crypto. And Tom Brady's getting stick for the sacking of John Eustace, which is intriguing to say the very least. But what that does now with Rooney is it opens this window, and we'll get into this with Dylan Butler and with you guys here. You wonder how many more managers will go by the end of the year. I mean, think about what we've seen. Eastern Conference, Bruce Arena, all of that ish. Do you stick with Clint PA, or do you try to bring in a name? DC, open. And it is so weird to see them in ninth place at 40 points in the barn and with an E next to their name. Do Red Bulls keep Troy Lacine? Do they renew his contract? Chicago, Frank Klopas. I don't know if you keep Frank long-term and sign him to a deal. Charlotte's got that home and home with Inter Miami at the end of the season. The home and home with Inter Miami. And if they win those, Charlotte could be in the playoffs. Remember, they've got a match in hand. NYCFC, Nick Cushing, 38 points. They got to win and get some help. Toronto's got John Herdman coming in. Western Conference. Zombie Timbers are looking for a new coach, unless they're happy with what they're getting with the interim. Kansas City, the question will remain with Peter Vermes. Minnesota, do they bring in a big name? And did you see Minnesota, sidebar, did you see what was going on with the in-house production crew at Allianz Field? They went on strike. They were looking for some basic benefits that included health care. And the in-house TV production crew at Allianz Field went on strike hours before the game on Saturday night. So as a result, Minnesota United had to find a TV production truck, bring it to the arena. They had a 6-camera shoot, but only 2 of those cameras were actually manned. And so the Minnesota United television production crew, the in-house folks at Allianz Field, were looking for, by their math, a $12,000 investment by the owners of Minnesota United. And the owners of Minnesota United said, yeah, tell you what, we'll take it out of your paycheck. They're looking for things like parking, basic health care, which amounted to like $50 a game, $12,000 over a season. Minnesota United said, yeah, we'll take it out of your paycheck. How about that? Production team's like, yeah, we're striking. And they've been apparently negotiating this for 7 months. This was not a surprise. But, yeah, that was why if you were looking for the Minnesota United game where Timu Pukki got the massive fantasy points, that's why you didn't see it. Because it was not available on Apple TV. It was on MLSsoccer.com and I think on YouTube and another couple of places. It was not available on Apple TV because the in-house production crew was on strike. No update since Saturday. But, yeah, it was a very, very interesting situation. It's like Minnesota United posts a full-screen graphic apologizing for the game. The union comes out and explains what's going on, and we haven't heard anything else from Minnesota United. But very, very interesting situation. After 7 months of negotiation, right before the match, the Minnesota United TV crew at Allianz Field goes on strike. So, once again, no updates there. But Minnesota is also looking for a coach. Austin. We talked about Austin yesterday. They're keeping Josh Wolf. L.A. Vanny. What happens there? Right now, you are not making you're not making the playoffs. You've been eliminated. What happens with Greg Vanny? Does Vanny get a pass because of the injuries? No Chicharito. Relying on Billy Sharp to help you try to win matches. By the way, worst defense in the league. Worst defense in the league. By a fair margin. Toronto had gave up 57 goals. Colorado only given up 52 goals with one match to go. So LAG will probably have the worst defense in Major League Soccer. Greg Vanney, he's probably on the clock. If he gets off to a slow start, he's probably done. Josh Wolf gets off to a slow start, he's probably done. Colorado, you're looking for a coach there too. So once again, we could have as many as 13 changes in Major League Soccer from the 29 clubs by the time we get to next season. Yeah, and Abby thinks that Sporting will keep Peter Vermes. And like I said, and we go back and forth on this. Like I said, when Dylan Butler comes on in 20 minutes, hopefully we'll break this down with Dylan. But I still think that because of what Peter Vermes has built, I think that he gets to call his own shot. And I know that hanging around right there on the edge when it comes to the playoff structure, you want to be better, and then you bring in folks, and then you start slowly. You bring in folks in the January window or in the June window, and then you sprint and you try to make your way into the playoffs. You squeak in as an 8-9 or an 8, and then you try to make your noise. Bam, of course, says that Vanney hopefully has a job for life at Carson. Yeah, and Abby, Brady has a vested interest, therefore he opens himself up to any criticism. True. I just wonder, though, when it comes, how much he really does know. It's like, nah, I'm just throwing money at this, and people are yelling at me. Of course, you've invested money. You're attached to this project now, sir. Yeah, the crew are, the crew aren't a part of the employees in Minnesota. So it's, it's a really odd situation. So Abby wants to do this. Abby thinks it would be fun to put all the names in a hat and each team draw a coach for a year. Now, let me ask you this. If we take Abby's philosophy here, you draw a name out of a hat. Can you put the name back? Because I wouldn't want John Herdman. I mean, legitimately, I would not want John Herdman. If I drew John Herdman out of a hat, I would sit there. Do we get like a make good? It's like, do we throw it back in the hat if we don't want it? If you're not Toronto, say. If you're not, okay, so only those who've gotten rid of their coaches, you get one put back that have to keep the second pick. Okay. Abby says only the teams that have gotten rid of their coaches. So all of the coaches who've been sacked, if they haven't got other gigs. So it would be what? Bob Bradley, possibly Nick Cushing, possibly Christian Latanzio. Now, is it Frank Klopas or is it Ezra Hendrickson in Chicago? See, now Ezra Hendrickson might be a good pull. New York, Struber or Lacine. See, this is the other part of this, Abby. Are you putting both names in? Are you putting the name of the sacked individual and the name of the successor in there, or is it just whoever got sacked, or is it the successor? Who finished the year, who ended the year, or is it both? See, this way you could end up with like more names than opportunities. And if the names that got left over were in, okay, so it's the dudes who get sacked. Okay. So, because I was going to say, if you could throw in the substitutes, but Abby's open to options with this theory. So if you put in the interims and the dudes that got sacked and you still had names left over, it would be interesting because then what you could possibly do is negotiate for something that's in the hat. I feel like that X's and O's game, the strikes game for Price is Right. You put all the names in the bottom, you sit there and you mix it, you mix the bag, and then you pull something out where you're hoping it's not a strike. I feel like I'm playing Price is Right with that game. But, so let's see. Sacked, folks. But see, now Giovanni Savarese would be a good pickup. That would be a good pickup. Bruce Arena, I don't know. Well, now the question is, if you put Bruce Arena's name in there, is it Bruce Arena, or does Bruce have the right to sit there and go, nah, I don't want my name put in. I'm retired. And Rooney's got another gig, so it would mean that you'd pull Rooney's name out, but then Rooney's already got a job. But you're looking at Gerhard Struber, Ezra Hendrickson. That'd be a good pickup, though. Bob Bradley, Savarese, which would be a good pickup. Adrian Heath, and then anybody else at the end of the year. There are some of those names that you would sit there and you're just like, nope, can I pass? I don't want to select that particular individual. It's like, can I not? See, that to me that'd be the next thing. Can I not pick this particular individual? Can I just not? That'd be the big question for me. By the way, Major League Soccer announced their off-season calendar yesterday. Here are the dates. Here are all of the dates to keep an eye on stuff, especially when it comes to players that you're hunting for. Abby is going to take down her Atlanta United flag for this week until the Cincinnati match. She's going to put up her Israeli flag until then. November 22nd, club's deadline to submit bona fide offers, or bona fide, as we used to say in Latin class. MLS clubs have to submit to the league office in writing all bona fide offers. Clubs in the conference semis required to submit all bona fide offers on the day after their final match of the postseason. All roster decisions publicized by the individual clubs. And remember, we got into that stuff once the season was over as well. December 1st, club deadline to exercise options. MLS clubs have to submit to the league office which players will have their options exercised, which players will not have their options exercised. That goes into the discussion like we were having yesterday with Michael Head when he brought it up. It's like, okay, who's in charge of the option, the team or the player? Team for the most part, unless there is something specifically that words it as a player-activated option. Losing conference final clubs have to submit exercise option decisions on the day after their final match. And so once again, if you're in the playoffs, all of this stuff gets postponed until the day after you're eliminated. Continue to work that stuff through, or by the date that we're talking about. Clubs competing in the MLS Cup presented by Audi must submit their exercise option decisions to the league office on December 10th. December 6th through 9 is the College Showcase out in Phoenix. Closed-door event. You can look at the players with remaining NCAA eligibility, top collegiate prospects. Now, December 11th, the trade window opens. 9 o'clock, so we'll be on the air December 11th. When the trade window opens. December 12th, 5 o'clock, end of year waivers process is conducted, reverse order of 2023 finish, considering postseason performance. So, end of year waivers would start with Wooden Spoon, Toronto, and Colorado and go from there. Eligible for selection are players who do not meet minimum requirements for the reentry process or free agency. End of year waivers process closes Thursday at 5 o'clock. 2 days, end of year waivers. List of players eligible published on December 12th. Free agency opens Wednesday afternoon, December 13th. Clubs may engage in players other than their own eligible for free agency. Free agency eligible players are out of contract and option declined players who are at least 24 years old have completed a minimum 5 years service. That list will be available on the 13th, Thursday. So the week of December 11th, this is when all the fun starts. Reentry process stage 1 is at 1 o'clock. Eligible players, 22. 1-year service, not eligible for free agency, and out-of-contract players received an order from his current club will not be eligible for the reentry draft. That one, stage 1, available on the 13th. December 19th is the super draft. So the super draft will be happening while I am at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So those 3 days, we're going to have a lot of tape content because remember, the championships are now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the week after the SEC tournament. I mean, the SEC championship game, traditionally, then it would be the championships because the high school football championship, so this is a programming note 2 months ahead of time. Because of the championships being moved to the week after that weekend. So it's SEC championship weekend. Then traditionally it was like the weekend of the 10th would be the weekend that things are going on. But because things have been pushed, December 11, 12, and 13 are the championships. So all of this fun with the trade window and waivers and things like that might have to be hit and run programming from me on those 3 days. December 14, once again, reentry process, stage 1 at 1 o'clock. December 19th is the super draft. December 21st, reentry stage 2. Not all unselected stage 1 players available for selection, as players may re-sign with their previous clubs between stages or may opt out of the process. That list is available on the 21st. So, all the busy stuff. November 22nd, deadline to submit offers. December 1st, club deadline to exercise options, or the day after you're eliminated from your playoff. College Showcase, December 6th through 9. December 11, Monday, trade window opens. December 12, end-of-year waivers. December 13, free agency opens. December 14th, reentry process, stage 1, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. College Showcase, the 19th. Reentry stage 2 on the 21st. So that's your calendar in December. Those are your dates that you get to look at things. And we mentioned MLS later today, by the way. Your weekly programming for USL Championship, USL League One, MLS Next Pro. MLS Next Pro is down to the Final Four. And there's some surprises. We'll get into sound and fury and all of that other stuff. Columbus Crew 2 knocked off Crown Legacy 1-0. And that means that your Eastern Conference final is Revolution and Crew 2-2. Revs 2, Crew 2. Revs 2 beat Red Bulls by the final of 2-1. Columbus Crew beat Crown Legacy 1-0 on the road at Matthews. Out west, Colorado beat the Earthquakes, and Austin FC went on the road to Starfire to knock off Tacoma. So your Final Four in MLS Next Pro. Revs hosting Crew at Gillette, Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock. Sunday night, both of these are on season pass, by the way. Austin FC 2, Colorado Rapids 2. That one is at 9:30 Sunday night. 9:30 Sunday night for your Western Conference final. Eastern Conference final, Rev 2, Crew 2, Saturday afternoon at Gillette. And as we get closer to the MLS Next Pro championship game, we'll catch up with the two teams and get you previewed for all of that. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get into hour number 2. And what to watch today. Manchester City are keen to give Erling Haaland a new contract, which will remove a reported £173 million release clause and reduce fears that Real Madrid or Barcelona could lure him away. A member of Real Madrid's board says he hopes Kylian Mbappe will choose to join the Spanish club when his contract runs out next summer. I thought he was supposed to already. Manchester United have added Sporting Lisbon, Portugal defender Gonçalo Inácio to their list of targets as they look to strengthen their defense next summer. Calvin Phillips expected to leave the club in January. Newcastle United and Everton among those interested in the English international. Calvin Phillips, for the longest time, wanted to prove himself and continue to be there and be a good soldier for Pep Guardiola. According to our friends at the Eye, sounds like that time might be drifting. Arsenal have been working on a deal to sign Ivan Toney from Brentford. Conversations taking place between the two clubs. Chelsea also interested. Chelsea's interested in everybody. But Arsenal working on a deal for Brentford with Ivan Toney. Remember, that would kick in first of the year. Ivan Toney is behind the scenes working out, doing closed-door stuff with Brentford. But all indications are that Brentford might be looking to cash out for 60 to 80 million pounds and could do so in the January window. English midfielder Trevor Chalobah could leave Chelsea in January. Somebody's leaving Chelsea? Holy ish. Pochettino's looking to sell more players in the next transfer window, according to our friends at the Express. Jamaica could offer Mason Greenwood, who is on loan at Getafe, a return to international football 3 years after he made a senior appearance for England. Remember, you get the one-time switch. Arsenal leading the race for 19-year-old Borussia Dortmund winger Jamie Bino Gittins. That's from Bild. Manchester City are interested in Joshua Kimmich. Bayern Munich may be forced to sell if he doesn't extend his contract beyond 2025. Remember, when you have a player under contract for a long term, it is to control the asset. It is not to keep the player in-house. If you do, great. If you don't, you control the asset, you can dictate a price, and they can move on. But it's all about controlling the asset and not losing the asset for nothing, to speak English very goodly. Manchester United and Jadon Sancho is open to a move in January. Juve and Borussia Dortmund apparently both interested, once again, according to our friends at the Eye. Inter Milan have ruled out a January move for Chelsea's Armando Broja. That's from our friend Fabrizio Romano. Former Chelsea and Spurs manager Antonio Conte is open to taking over as Napoli manager if the Serie A champs dismiss Rudy Garcia. West Ham planning to hold talks about a new contract with 28-year-old France defender Kurt Zouma, whose deal runs out in 2025. And Jude Bellingham's dad gave Manchester City hope of signing him in the summer, but the 20-year-old only wanted Real Madrid. That's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Hutch, Pulisic, it worked for me, and it can work for you too. Exactly. What to watch today? And it's a decent amount. Most of it's college. International friendly on FS2 at 2:45. Wales and Gibraltar. Wales and Gibraltar. That's where we are with our friendlies right now. I'm checking the juice boxes just to check the juice boxes. Where's our friendlies? I guess it would be World as we look up Friendly International. Okay. Friendly International. We've got a couple of those going on right now. Wales and Gibraltar, by the way, it's the only one not involving a U19 squad or a U23 squad. Wales is a minus 33-33. I feel like Zager and Evans. Gibraltar is a plus 41-75 in the composite. So Wales, massively favored, no real surprise. Tomorrow you get a lot more of the international friendlies, but today the lone one on the board outside of the USA U23, Mexico U23 friendly at 10 o'clock tonight. Wales a minus 33-33 to carry through on FS2 at 2:45. College men's action 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 games on the men's side on the plus, starting at 2 o'clock with Niagara and St. Peter's, and there are 3 matches out west at 10 o'clock. On the women's side, 3, 6, 9, 12 matches, including State and Southern at 6 o'clock tonight. State and Southern, 6 o'clock on the plus. So that's your rundown of what to watch today. Tomorrow, there's a boatload of stuff. You got CONCACAF Nations qualifying, Euro 24, CONMEBOL, Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here has got your CONMEBOL qualifiers. You got a boatload of college games on the women's side, handful of games on the men's side. Universo has your simulcast there, SEC Network FS2. Georgia and Thailand is at noon, so we get a Sabalob Janidze update possibly at noon. Georgia and Thailand tomorrow. ACC Network's got it as well. We'll go back over that schedule tomorrow. It's 10 o'clock. So that means as we start hour number 2, and the AFC World Cup qualifications. Very, very early. BAM performing a public service as well. Since we are in 10 o'clock, it is time to read a promo. And I'll see if I can get the music right and not have it like faded to where you hit a button and then nothing happens? Somebody hit a button. Let's see if anything happens. We got music. Holy ish. Now, since we only have one QR code up on the screen, this is the one we're talking about. Over my left shoulder, for those of you watching on Facebook, on Twitch, and on the 280-character app, time to talk about our friends at Eliminize Service. Rotor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, and it's Eliminize. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, they've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use the Eliminize service to eliminate odors, if I could get my plate for it. Help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Turnkey process makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind of the environment we like that, offering a clean way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that you have either under the sink or above you in the cupboard, because when you reach under the sink or above you in the cupboard, you pull the masking agent out, bring it out into the room that you are in, spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. Because all it does is mask the odor. It does not attack the problem like our friends at Eliminize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or part per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, and it is Eliminize, complete with website. But with website, this is where I grab my pen. Do us a favor. Eliminize.com, but after the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are asking them for their help. Eliminize.com /Atlanta. ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta. Eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. SDH always brought to you by our friends at Eliminize, especially on a Wednesday. Busiest man in show business in the northeastern United States. And I'm not joking when I say that, because Dylan, there's no slow fade. It gets me every single time. There's no slow fade. You hit zero and it just goes boom. And so Dylan Butler, the busiest man in all of northeastern television, radio, new media. What is up, my friend? Have you caught your breath here in the midweek? That sounds like a no.
I guess. Sure. There's no games tonight, so that's a positive.
Yes. Well, it's a positive because you get to all right. So varsity media for high school football. Everything you do at OSDB, everything you do at MLS soccer. I guess international breaks help out in that regard, where you can kind of catch your breath a little bit. Driving folks to school, making sure that they get there on time, and making sure that now is it still just it's like you pull up to the curb and she's out the door and there's no goodbye or no nothing. It's like where's my lunch bag? Where's my lunch box? I'm out, or is there like
I mean, it depends. Like I think she prefers a little bit of fraternizing out front with the other kids before she goes in. Today, we had pulled up to the curb, got her out of the car, backpack on, pretty much as the doors were opening. So her walk without turning around or waving goodbye was a little bit longer than it usually is. It's usually right at the door. But here's a funny. I could tie this in to fatherhood and soccer. This is pretty funny.
Okay.
So yesterday we had our first team practice with this. We signed up for soccer. I, as you could appreciate, I didn't want to push her into it, obviously. So she did some stuff at school last year after school, and for like an hour. It seemed like she liked it. So my wife and I were both like, we spread out our questions like a week and a half or 2 weeks apart. Like, hey, do you want to sign up for soccer? Yes. And we waited. Hey, do you want to sign up for soccer? Yes. So it was always a yes. So finally we did. We were like the last ones to sign up. And it was like we signed up on a Thursday. Oh, by the way, there's a game Sunday.
Oh.
That didn't go over well. She didn't want to play in that game. Then it was this team that we're on, the Breakers. they have their team practice every other week.
Okay.
But there's trainers for that age group, for the boys and the girls of that age group in this club every Thursday. So we did the trainers one, and it was she was hesitant, but then she did it. Then I think the next team practice, or the first one we would have had, was rained out or something. Last week she was out at Montauk with her mom and my father-in-law. So nothing last week. No games last week anyway because of Columbus Day. So anyway, super long story short. So first team practice yesterday. So we get there. She was super excited about it. Met the coaches. Everything was going great. Very small group. I think there's like 10 kids all told on the team, but I think we only had 4 or 5 participating. One went, but just didn't want to play. So this is, by the way, this is U6 that we're talking about here.
Okay.
So my wife shows up as well after work, and she's chatting up the coaches, and suddenly we find out after practice that both of the coaches are unable to make the game this week. So guess who my wife volunteers to coach the team this week?
I believe it would be Dylan Butler.
Correct.
Wow. So are you going to run a 4-4-2 diamond?
Well, there's only 5. So you know what's funny? So it's like 5 girls. So the coach was like, "Listen, I don't know anything about soccer. I'm a baseball guy, but you basically put 3. It's like a hockey lineup. You put 3 forwards, 2 defenders, one of the girls in goal. They all want to play in the goal." I'm like, but like our team, from my understanding, like we have like 2 or 3 3-year-olds on it, and the other team has been together for 2 years now. So, and there's only 2 teams. You play the same team every week. So, the week that we went, a couple days after signing up, I just noticed this team that my daughter's on just got crushed. So I think that's continued to happen. So when he said 3 and 2, my first thought was, but can we have 2 and 3 and we could defend a little more and then maybe win the ball and then play from there. Okay. But maybe I'm overthinking it for U6.
No, it's all about making sure that you can make an impact. You got.
And if I knew that I was and if I knew I was going to be coaching, I would have maybe run the practice. We could have done some pressing and counter pressing. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. You sit there. It's like you're gonna run it like Red Bulls. You're gonna run it like Troy Lacine. It's just like we're gonna press like the Red Bulls for the entire match.
I mean, like for U6, why not? I guess
let's push forward. Everybody's forward.
Like, listen, win the ball up the field as far as you can win it, right?
Yes, absolutely. And Bam is requesting video of you coaching, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know, Bam. I don't know what's gonna happen. And then it's supposed to be raining too, so I'm trying to. My daughter's like, "So I'll wear a raincoat." I go, "No, you have to wear your jersey." But what about the raincoat? I go, "No, like you could wear it going there and coming back, but."
Oh, that's tremendous. See, now if you could wear rain gear, like if you could put cleats on galoshes, I mean that would be strong. And you would get the entire like U12 community behind you if you could convert galoshes with cleats and have some kind of a hybrid rain outfit that we could double as a soccer outfit.
I was going to reach out to Ian Stone. I've known him for years. He's a St. John's women's coach. I was going to be like, "Hey, you doing anything on Sunday? you want to join me on the Breakers sideline here for this one?"
Oh, see, now that you go to the bullpen and pull in a ringer, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
A nice spritz of Scotch Guard will help. That's an interesting way to look at it. So Scotch Guard from Hutch. We'll keep an eye. We're going to need continual updates now that you have presented Dylan Butler, coach, as a part of this discussion.
And now these coaches were like, "Listen, if you win, it's yours."
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, absolutely, it's going to be.
And my wife was like, "Wait until they find out what you do." Like there'll be no turning back. No. They still don't, I think, technically, but yeah, my wife very kindly volunteered me.
Of course. You mentioned coaches, and I went into the Wayne Rooney discussion this morning in hour number 1. So I think Rooney is now 9 that are on the board.
That's a record
for a new track record. I feel like Bob Carnegie.
And more coming, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, but Josh Wolf isn't one of them? Question mark.
Yeah, that's weird, right? And like the level of this wasn't just a vote of confidence. This was like a full sort of statement and celebration of
yeah,
to go as far as he did to state that Wolf is the guy, you know. I mean, to me that sings of, okay, you didn't have enough support scouting system wise. We're going to give you that support. And then I think there's a little bit of a leeway for next season. That's the way that I'm reading it, at least.
How much?
Now, if we give you the support and you're still struggling next year, you're out. And I have the guy. I think, I don't know how close they were at City or with CFG, but I think I have the guy that would.
Okay.
I think that could be the spot for Dome Torrent.
Okay, because we were thinking, where would Dome Torrent end up? And you know, could it have been New England? Could it have been, you know, but the Manchester City coaching tentacles, that does make sense. But let me phrase it this way. If Dome,
that's not a guaranteed opening, obviously, too.
Right, but still, but I mean, but looking at the roster as is right now, that group in Austin, where you were scoring, but now you're not, and Brad Stuver can only stop so much. Personnel-wise in Austin, is it a fit for Dome, you think, or is Borrell going to sit there and it's like, don't worry, bro, we got you covered. Come transfer windows, just make.
Yes, that's what I think. That second part is what I think. You know, that hey, listen, you know, we're gonna, you know, we've got the scouting system out there now. We're gonna get you players. So I don't think the concern will be so much about what the current roster looks like, as opposed to now having more ability to get better players.
Who else are we staring at here since Josh Wolf is off the list? Now, I kind of went through the list of things this morning, and Abby had an interesting thought pattern where, for all the teams that have interims right now, you take everybody who's been sacked and who will be sacked, you put them in a hat, and you draw a random dude, and random dude has to go out of the hat. Like you draw Ezra Hendrickson, and Ezra Hendrickson.
Wait, it would be literally, but wouldn't that just literally just be the sack? Like instead of a hat?
It would be. That's what, yeah, literally, it would be the sack.
Yeah.
And what you would do is you pull a name out of the sack, and that guy goes to the team that you pull. Like if, say, like Red Bulls pulls Gio Savarese out of a hat, then Gio would have to go to Red Bulls for that year.
Club legend. And
so, I mean, how many more do you think we're going to be seeing? Are we going to get to 13? What are you staring at here?
I think, again, it's going to be based on teams that don't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, like Minnesota doesn't make the playoffs. They've already done that move, right? So let's look in the East. New England. I mean, obviously we're not including interims, right? Like
no,
like full-time guys,
right?
Yeah, I mean, NYCFC is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is that you know, we're cool with the status quo because we want to keep Pep's seat warm, you know, with the new stadium, and we're just going to deal with this for.
See, you could end up with Pep at Dylan Butler Estates, man. That's how this could be.
Listen, he's already coached youth, right? Like in Central Park, so maybe I can get him out here onto Long Island.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
maybe I can call up Chris Armas.
Oh, I don't know if Armas is doing anything, but you'd have to lock Armas into philosophy. If he went freelance on you, it wouldn't go well. I mean, you look at, I mean, if Charlotte takes care of business with the home and home with Inter Miami, they're in the playoffs. And then you would take Latanzio off the board.
We already know that Tata's not going anywhere.
Right. So is Latanzio off the board even if he makes it to the playoffs, or are things so frustrating right now in Charlotte that you'd still pull him because of what happened late?
No, I think if they make the playoffs, he's safe.
What do you do in DC now that they don't have Rooney?
You maybe. I mean, they are saying they're going to get a general manager first.
True. Okay.
Which makes sense, right? Like, they haven't had that position in more than a year. So have that person then make the hire, I guess. But I don't know who. Other than bringing in Rooney, they've let's be honest, they've gone cheap on that, right?
Yeah, they have.
Are you now looking at another, current MLS assistant? Do you then go back into that sack and, do you pull out someone there who an Ezra Hendrickson there, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the formula there is. And plus two, you don't know like who's going to be back with them, and is Benteke sticking around? Is he trying to go back to England?
The Belgian bread loaf.
It's like I don't. It's kind of weird how that club has gone from like standard bearer early days to sort of like, and you get it with a lot of these MLS originals. Like, you have to adjust to the times or you get left behind.
Yeah.
And it feels like largely that they've been left behind, right? Like, they have a new stadium. Great. It's not the same as other new stadiums, right? It's a step behind those.
You've got to make sure that everything is actually anchored down in that stadium.
That it's not raining.
Yeah, that too.
But so I mean, at least, like, they did. It's in a good spot. The Nationals are right down the street. It's a decent stadium. Again, not, everyone who's building stadiums after are building better stadiums. So I'm not sure if you do a stadium power ranking, mid-table, probably DC's would be.
Okay.
But I think Rooney did some good things with the youth, with the young players, and I think their signings worked out pretty. I mean, obviously, other than Taxi Fontes, but
true.
I think Klitsch and Benteke were really good signings.
Yeah, but once again, to your point, now that Rooney's not there, do they want to go back to England?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, I don't know what the answer is now. Is there another one of their club legends? Are they coaching anywhere? Is Echeverry coaching somewhere? Is Jaime Moreno coaching somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, that's you're
going
to
want to come back to the district.
Yeah, you're going to have to bring folks back under the tent somehow, and how do you do that when you're not really when the track record is there? I mean, we've seen guys like Cudi Pietro and do well at Loudoun and come up and then get some quality first time minutes, but for me, I'm sitting here and literally this is my response for DC. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be staring at with DC now.
Right. No, exactly.
LAG,
especially too that they haven't, at least with some of these clubs, like especially around here, like NYCFC and Red Bull, for better or worse, like your first thought process is like, all right, so who's in the CFG system? Who's in the Red Bull system? Is there like a Salzburg assistant or like a, because there's that clear philosophy. But with DC, it's kind of like, I have no idea.
Yeah. LAG, Vanny.
That's a great question.
Does he get an early pass because of the injuries or because of it being LAG and because of Greg Vanny and because of trade embargoes involving rules violations that he couldn't do anything, and then you bring in 97-year-old Billy Sharp, who ends up being a bit of a revelation.
Billy Sharp, a big player in last night's Wrexham.
Yeah, I mean, oh boy, I've got to get caught up. As a matter of fact.
Oh, sorry, don't.
No, it's cool. Now, what we've started doing here in the house is we'll watch the new episodes once it's released, but we'll go back and watch season 1, and that way it's like we'll watch a couple of episodes, and then we'll watch a couple of episodes of season 1 because they're in that 22-minute without commercials bit, and you can watch 3 of those in an hour, and you can watch 2 in an hour. So if you watch 2 hours of Wrexham, you've watched 5 episodes, 2 new and 3 old. So you get caught up that way.
Yeah, true.
So Bart, who's coming on behind you, he says he last saw Raul Diaz Arce coaching a U19 boys ECNL team last season. He reffed him. That's enough experience to take on DCU, right?
I don't know. He might not get. He might get paid better where he is right now.
Yeah, really. As someone who's a member of the Swans Trust and gets to stare at Jason Levian on a daily basis. Greg Vanney, I mean, for me in LAG, it's like, yeah, there's all these extenuating circumstances, but you've got Greg Vanney who comes in with the Greg Vanney pedigree, and I guess you have expectation level versus extenuating circumstances. What do? You do the same thing with him that you would do with Josh Wolf and Austin? Give him a start with everybody healthy, and if it's a bad start, then do you blow it up, or do you do it now?
I mean, the blowing up has kind of already started generally, right? So to me, it's almost like it's not the worst if you just kind of continue that, right? Because we listen, it's Los Angeles, right? It's the Galaxy. It's still a marquee name around the world. Mm-hmm. So you are certainly going to draw plenty of suitors for that position, for a technical director position. There's a lot of work to be done at LAG this off season. So no, I wouldn't be surprised if he was let go. Would it seem harsh because of all those things you were saying? Perhaps, but I also then think he's done enough. I think, especially with what he's done in Toronto, where he'll, I think he would bounce to one of these maybe open spots as well. Maybe he go to DC. I don't know.
Get him a big market club and try to have another level of investment there. Over the past week matches before we got into international window here, once again, center refs come into the discussion. Pro comes into the discussion. Since we're a news cycle behind when it comes to matches, we still haven't gotten the traditional news dump. So sorry, we goofed video that comes at noon on a match day kind of. It's like, oh yeah, we goofed. We're sorry. Here's the play, or you may not even see the play in question, and you'll get an explanation. When it comes to level of frustration with officials, where are you right now when it comes to what we see on a match day basis?
No pun intended, no dad jokes here, no. But I err on the side. I'm more on the side of pro. Like I think, and I'm probably in the minority in this thinking. Mm-hmm. Maybe with the exception of Bart, but I think
there's a lot of us who are pretty chapped at pro right now.
I think in general, they've done a good job, and I think in the institution of VAR, I think it's probably at the top of the world, right? And we've seen that. We've seen issues in other parts of the world, especially obviously very well publicized in England. So I think VAR-wise, I think it's at the top, and I think it's an organization. I think that they're not stuck in their ways. I think there's willingness to continue to learn and get better. So Yeah, I'm not of the all these refs are terrible and this is ridiculous. And I do though, going back to kind of, I think it was one of our conversations last year. I do think there needs to be in general more accountability.
Yeah.
So much like the players and the coaches, if there's something that happens and you know egregious, say that this official did XYZ wrong, and they'll not participate in match week 37 or something.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we haven't quite gotten to that kind of a quick turnaround yet, where you would have something egregious and then they still get an assignment, especially on a quick turn match week. So you would put pro ahead of the PGMOL from what you get to see on the Premier League?
Absolutely, yeah. Then
let me go to reffing over there before Bart comes in and does reffing down here for the week. When you see what's been going on with VAR, and Howard Webb has come out and he has said things, and apparently they got more than one thing wrong with Liverpool and Spurs, and that yeah. going on over there. I mean, when you look at what's going on as a Newcastle supporter, when you see what's going on with VAR overseas, it does seem like it's being handled better here in the States. But when you look at things from a Premier League fan perspective, what are you staring at with the reffing over there when it comes to what we've seen over there the last handful of weeks?
Yeah, especially VAR. It's not good, and it hasn't been good from the very beginning of it. And I think, I don't know. Again, it's just from a whatever 1,000 yards away kind of vantage point here, or obviously on the other side of the pond, but it generally and it's dangerous to do generalizations, but to me it almost feels like when VAR was instituted here, and it was first, and I remember going to Red Bull Arena and they're showing exactly how things work and how the communication goes, and I felt like there was certainly a willingness among the pro officials to learn about it, right, and to do it and to implement it and to do it the right way. And I almost wonder if there was a hesitation over there, where well, no, this is the way we do it, and this is football, and this is the way
that we've done the sport forever. Therefore, we're going to do it this way.
You can't question my decisions here, and like maybe there was blowback or brushback, and again, this is all hyperbole, I guess, but now Howard Webb goes over there, and I think that's what he's gone over there for, right? To clean it up and to be like, listen, this is what I did here. Let's do that here now, right? So like, and I think he'll get that right. I mean, he did it here. I have no question he'll do it there. So, but that's I think a little bit, at least again,
yes,
from far away, from watching it on the two, what I think I see there.
Yes. So as you get ready to employ the 131 diamond in your U6,
I don't even know who's showing up, and then like, so like the problem is that these two coaches aren't going, but guess what? That means that two players aren't going to be there as well.
Ooh.
So we start with a roster of 10.
Uh-huh.
Now I know that we have 8. And I'm already kind of not including the girl who was just sitting on the sideline yesterday, not wanting to participate. So now there's 7 for 3 forwards, or for 5 field players and a goalie. So now there's going to be 1 girl. I got to try to rotate in and then make it so that the rotations are fair to all the other players. So it's not like I'm just going 1 for 1 on the rotation. So like,
well, maybe you put the girl who's disinterested. Maybe you put her up top. And that way she's engaged. Everything.
But she wasn't even on the practice field. Like, she was on the sideline sitting.
Ugh. Oh man.
I think she's one of the 3-year-olds that are on the team.
Okay. All right. So I'm still. We need video evidence. And Bam asks, does that mean that the head coach's daughter is going to be wearing the C? By the way.
No, no. I think fortunately on this level, there's no
armband.
There's no armbands.
Ah.
But like I said, my biggest and I think they do like I think they instead of halves they do like quarters. So it's almost like a basketball game where I got to figure out the rotation the right way.
Okay.
I don't know what the answer is. Like I don't know if I rotate. I don't know if it's like by the quarter. But then again, like I said, it would be unfair if I take my daughter out. If she plays in the first quarter, I take her out for the only girl who hasn't played. Put that girl in for my daughter, but I can't have my daughter sit the whole quarter. That's the other girls are still playing.
Uh-huh.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so
No, I do. And then if your daughter sits too much, then the boss back home after the match is over, you get to have those discussions.
And you know what the worst part of this whole thing is too.
Mm.
And we had this situation yesterday at practice. There's a playground just past the field.
Oh.
So it's like it was hilarious yesterday. This one girl yesterday we were doing
playground.
We were doing maybe passing drills, and literally like where did Summer go? And you see her going down a slide and then coming back onto the field. This is what we're dealing with.
Oh man. We need a full report next week. Dylan_Butler on the 200 Indie Character app, OSTB Sports, MLSsoccer.com. Godspeed, my friend. We're thinking about you.
I need it.
No doubt. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week.
All right.
All right. That's Dylan. So we go hot tag. Bart, I have wow. Dylan's in for it, isn't he? With that
listen, thoughts and prayers to Dylan, because that is not an easy task he's about to have to take on this weekend.
Oh man. I want a full report, but then I don't want a full report. It's like the Chris Basham injury. It's like, it's like, do I want to see it? I want the information, but I don't know if I want to look.
You know what? The most important thing at that age is that they have fun. And I'm sure Dylan will be able to do that.
Yes. All right. So you are here this week because there's a lot to talk about on a bunch of different fronts.
There's a lot to talk about, John.
Yes. Let's start with the national team stuff. And, there's we got Atlanta United players who are going on international duty. We've got some youngins who got some call-ups. When you look at stuff from the youth national perspective and the national team perspective, you got some friendlies coming up here in short order. What's your 30,000-foot view of this other than no one gets hurt?
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing is please no one get hurt for Atlanta United or really anyone. We don't want that. But the 30,000-foot view is this seems like the first time in a while that U.S. Soccer has had a comprehensive plan for the entirety of one of its programs. You see at this point in time, the U.S. men senior team putting together their roster for the friendlies. You saw 23 players there. I think you saw when you looked at the list of U23 players that are assembling for a camp this week as well during this window, which is key. They're doing this youth camp during a FIFA international window, hosting friendlies. You see a pretty good demarcation of players who a lot of people would say they should be involved with the senior national team, but they're not. They are on this U23 youth national team because that's where they kind of fit best right now. We're talking players like Paxton Aronson, John Tolkien, Caleb Wiley, Tanner Tessman, Gianluca Busio. But then also you saw yesterday the release of the U19 roster for the Pan Am Games later this month. Now that's obviously a little bit different because I'm sure U.S. Soccer didn't really have a full choice of players to go on this random tournament that doesn't take place during any FIFA international window and would require a lot of those players to miss club playing time, specifically if you were trying to get like Caleb Wiley, who would definitely be a part of that age group. Well, Atlanta United plays a very important game on October 21st and then plays a couple of important games during the Pan Am Games. Whether or not we actually need Caleb Wiley, because we'll probably lose anyway, is to be decided. But, the point is Caleb is the perfect example of a guy who should be at the Pan Am Games, but not going to because of this. So the holistic picture being, okay, well, we'll put Caleb Wiley in this U23 squad. We know that we feel confident he'll be an Olympic player next year. And you're finally getting to see U.S. Soccer have a plan for all levels of the program, which is nice.
Yeah, and it's you're sitting there and it's like, wait a minute. We've got all these folks that were calling in and doing all these different things. I'm thoroughly confused and disoriented by all of this activity. I have no earthly idea what's going on here. There's organization.
I know. And John, this is, we talked about this multiple times on the Soccer for Us podcast, that this U23 camp specifically is the perfect example of something and the reason why U.S. Soccer needs a central training HQ, because they're training and playing out in Phoenix at Phoenix Rising Complex. And I'm sure Phoenix is a great location, a great facility, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? I'm sure they're charging U.S. Soccer money. So yes, it is expensive to build a holistic training center with all the things they want to build, but it is a heck of a lot cheaper than renting the field space in Phoenix, and to be fair, even in Nashville, where the men are currently training. I think they will be heading out to Hartford Thursday or Friday. So those are the benefits.
Yeah, and I think that once again, with all of these different things going on simultaneously, it'll be good to have this centralized location where you ain't paying all these different folks all this kind of money, and you can sit there and it's like, nope, everybody comes here, and it gives U.S. Soccer, and I mean that in the broadest sense of the quotation marks, the chance to keep an eye on everybody all at the same time. It's like, oh, over here on field 3, it's the U23s. Over here, it's the U15s. Over here, it's the national team. And I think it's something that's sorely missed. Mercifully, we're only a handful of years until that happens. But having all of this the scattered idea of, okay, so you're here, and you're here, I think you lose out on the monitoring aspect of, oh, okay, so if someone's doing well here, maybe we should shift them from field 3 to field 4. And they can be a part of another training group entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even take to an account today, the US U23 play a friendly tonight in Phoenix. Well, that obviously would have been one of those things that were, they're having friendlies with Mexico and Japan. That would have been hosted at this facility here in Atlanta when that happens. Pretend the U.S. senior team is also here training. Well, they could just go watch that. That sounds fun, right? Like, that's a cool thing for like a Christian Pulisic or a Weston McKennie to be cheering on a guy like Paxton Harrison, who they know, obviously, or a guy like Jack McGlynn to, watch them and cheer them on. That's just cool. It builds the program and it builds the brotherhood that I do think Greg Berhalter wants to try to instill, that I'm sure that Matt Crocker wants to instill. And something that Matt Crocker, I think, is taking from his time up and down the levels of the English football pyramid, where you have academies, but they're all in theory at the same kind of like complex. And I think it's a positive.
What did you think about the Marko Mitrovic hire in the first place for the U23s?
Well, he's not Jason Christ, so I think that's a good hire. No, I mean, I think it was clear that they just elevated some people behind him and said, okay, we like this guy as the U23s. I think it's good to have, even with Jason Christ, he wasn't a real full-time hire once it got time to actually have qualification and go, try to qualify for last Olympics, whenever that was. What year was that? 2021 is when we had the last Olympics. That's right.
Wow.
Trying to remember what year it was. So this is good. It's full-time hire. I don't think the manager itself is the most important thing, but the fact that he is full-time, he'll be working with and under Greg to kind of put together something that looks like a U.S. Soccer playing team when we get to the field. And we'll see more tonight. I mean, I'm genuinely curious. I mean, I don't think we'll see any grand revelations. I just want to see how this team plays, because we've seen the youth teams especially play a very high-paced kind of pressing style. And I'm interested to see how that's going to carry over, because if you have coaches in place who are a little bit more under the direction of the senior national team coach, and then by extension, the director of sport, whatever Crocker's title actually is.
Grand Exalted.
Yeah. Will they be less press heavy? Because we saw that a lot under, we think, Tab Ramos and guys like that, and more possession heavy. I'm just curious. I'm interested to see how this team is going to play.
The U23 roster, for those that don't know, in net, Christopher Brady from Chicago, John Polskamp from Sporting, and Schulte from Crew. Defenders, Brendan Craig, Maximilian Dietz from Gruther Fürth in the Bundesliga B, Nathan Harriel, who has learned how to, have his arm in a chicken wing position and not get it called for a handball, so he can take that to the national level. Brian Reynolds from Westerlo, John Tolkien, Jonathan Tompkinson from Bradford City, Caleb Wiley, midfield, Paxton Aronson, Busio, you mentioned, Benja Kremoski, Jack McGlynn, Aiden Morris, Tanner Tessman, Obed Vargas up top, Byrik Terovich for New England, Taylor Booth out of the Netherlands, currently playing at Utrecht, Johan Gomez for Eintracht Braunschweig, Brian Gutierrez with the Fire, Bernard Kamungo, fantastic story for those of you that don't know it. That's your Google search for today. Read up on Bernard Kamungo. Duncan McGuire, who just scored again, and Indiana Vasilev, who has golden ticket status here at SDH. This is some firepower here with this U23 group.
The only real position that I'm worried about is that center back position. But our fullbacks, our goals, everything else is really good. And this is an example of what the MLS Academy system, now that we're finally seeing, 10, 15 years on of actual academies being placed, you see really talented guys at this level who in the past would have been part of the U.S. senior squad because, they're really talented. I mean, think of Paxton Aronson, Brian Reynolds. They've got some time with the senior team, but they are not by any stretch full senior players, I don't think. And in the past, we would have had to include them because, they're playing in Europe. They're great players. But now we can kind of keep them at a level that makes sense for their development.
You mentioned center back and central defense. Brian Sciaretta, also over at Soccer America, asked Mitrovic about it. Is central defense a concern right now? Mitrovic says, quote, "Those first team minutes, let me say why it will help them. First, A, their development and future. Then B, to be ready for the Olympic Games. You have a season where you don't have enough playing time. How likely are you really going to be in good form to perform in the Olympic Games? But on the other side, we see that as an opportunity to help them. If we believe that some players are high potentials and they have a full national team path or can compete and play in Olympic Games, but in one stage of their career they're struggling with playing minutes, maybe this is a great opportunity to support them, to give them confidence, to show them that they have quality and that they're talented players. Down the road, in order to earn an opportunity to play for the national team, you have to play for your team. But sometimes we know that every player is going through challenging moments in their clubs, and we don't want to just turn our back to those players. We're here to help them as well." So it seems like Mitrovic understands going in that he's got some dudes who are in central defense that aren't getting a whole lot of minutes, but hoping that these kinds of friendlies can get them those minutes and at least reinforce that, okay, you're here and you can do the gig if we need you to do it later.
Yeah, and I think that's always the key to understand with youth national team rosters is the idea of getting your best group of players in this particular age group is a fantasy, not a reality. We had to call in Brendan Craig later. He wasn't on the initial roster announcement. We called him in, I think Monday, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Sunday, somewhere like that. It is, but it's also one of those things, again, where you have to look at the overall attempt to play soccer in a cohesive way, look at individuals on the field and how they're playing, because sometimes, especially for a friendly window like this, you're not going to get your first choice players. I don't know why some of the U23 center backs weren't released because, in my opinion, again, it's a FIFA international window. There's no reason to not release them, but clubs have their own reasons, and we have to respect that.
When it comes to playing international squads, and it turns into basically you're playing the same team in more than one location, you're not getting any kind of variety of opposition. I guess this is a twofold question. What does that say about your schedule maker, and what does that say about the state of the opponents that you're trying to get and can't, because you end up having to play the same team more than once in a window?
Is this about the U23s or the U.S. women who just announced their
U.S. U.S. women. U.S. women. I went Toonses on you, and I went this way.
Sorry. Yeah, I think this is, as I tweeted yesterday, this would be my resolution for U.S. women's program to try to avoid double booking these teams. The problem, legitimate problem, is, we don't exist in a silo. And these teams, even if we wanted to get 2 Asian teams, say we wanted to get Korea and China, right? Well, are they going to come over here and do nothing for the other friendly? Are you going to play one game and then that's it? This is where we do need Canada and Mexico to kind of step up. I know Canada can barely tie their own shoelaces at this point in time, but it would be really helpful if a team like Mexico could step up and say, oh yeah, we'll play China, we'll host them, because one, I think it would benefit greatly the Mexican women's national team, who again did not qualify for the World Cup last time, despite everyone telling me that Liga MX Femenil is a great league and better than NWSL. But it does hinder the U.S. when you only can pitch one game. It would make a lot more sense if you could pitch, oh, well, you come here and play us, and then you can go play Canada, and then you can go play Mexico. I think that would probably be the reason. That's why when you see the U.S. get really quality opponents at home, it's in that She Believes Cup type tournament, or the Tournament of Nations thing that we tried for a while there. When you only have one good team in a region, or in Canada's case, not a team unable to even host friendlies, you're going to run into problems like these, where it's unfair to bring in another team alongside China if they also can't play a friendly, 2 friendlies in this window.
Let's get to reffing down here. Is there anything that I
Hold
missed?
on, John. I got to get one more Canada joke in.
Go for
it. I think Canada announced today that they found a couple of dollars change in their couch, so they actually will be able to host the Nations League qualifier in November. So congrats, Canada.
There you go. Okay. So, but wait a second. Are they loonies, toonies, or dollars?
Actually, I think at this point it's crypto. So they.
Okay. Yeah. Good. What nicely done.
Canada's up there. The Canada soccer's up there mining crypto, finding
yes,
some way to pay these players.
Yes.
Actually, just 10 bits. They're just paying them in 10 bits.
See, and Canadian Tire dollars. Canadian Tire bucks and 10 bits is how they're doing it, I'm sure.
Somehow Canada curling can put on all these competitions, and Canada soccer can't. You tell me.
Less athletes in curling.
Better athletes
for
in curling.
squad. Yes. You and your man Shuey right here, right there. All right, so let's get into reffing down here, and there's an ish load to get into this week, and it's not.
We didn't have anything from the U.S. from the Atlanta game, though, right? I just wanted to make sure we cleared that board. Ishmael did a pretty decent job.
Elfath was great. Alex Chilowitz, however, was not.
Yeah, I think we've ad nauseum talked about that Philadelphia game.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. So then let me ask you philosophically, when it comes to Abby, it is a tie-in. She wants to know about your new handle.
Barnabas Prime 19 is my personal.
Yeah.
SoccerForUSPod is for the show.
Yeah.
That's where I tweet my soccer tapes.
Yeah, he's working 2 separate lanes of traffic, and so
I manage 3 social media accounts. That used to be 5, so we've cut down.
He's on a. I
only got paid for 2.
He's on a 280 character diet, basically.
My Facebook right now is crazy because my former company still hasn't figured out how to take me off of the Facebook admin.
But that happens a lot.
It does. It's tough. I also manage the WVU Peach State Alumni Association Facebook. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Facebook's a little bit easier to navigate than Twitter when it comes to posting, but still,
yes,
it's a lot to keep up with. A lot of notifications on my phone.
Yes. I want to start with a philosophical question, and I know that it drives Michael Head crazy on a daily basis when we discuss reffing down here and how the state of affairs lends itself to discussing about more errors that are made by center refs and by crews, even with the advent of VAR. That we have, and it's just the nature of, I think, of how we are these days. We have a tendency to say more negative things than we do positive things, even though we did just sit there and tip our hat to Ismail Elfath. when it comes to Pro as an entity, how much recourse do we have when it comes to demanding more from these officials? The way that I want to present it here on the show is that we have to continue to talk about it, or we end up just accepting it for what it is, and you don't want to accept poor negotiating of situations. And that's why I drive people crazy by talking about poor officiating, because if you stop talking about it, then you're accepting it.
Before I answer that, I just got a text message from my younger brother, the freshman in college, who did not know who Sheryl Crow is. So anyway, I had a little bit of an existential crisis for a couple seconds. She's opening for Zach Bryan next summer, and we bought tickets to that concert, and I was very excited. Anyway, I think, John, to answer your question, because I think this is where you come from, and obviously where I come from, our goal is not to put down pro, but to build up pro. And there's a difference between criticism and critique.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between wanting the product to be better and just trying to bash the product, right? We're not trying to talk about, pro in a way, hopefully we're not, where everything they do is wrong and we want to try to dismantle them. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, we need to get rid of pro. And I'm like, that makes no sense whatsoever. Without pro, we would not have proper referee development at the professional level, because they would just kind of be on their own. Having a full-time staff to support the referees is better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one that is technically separate from the league is better, right? That said, that doesn't mean there aren't things that pro/other professional referee unions, if you will, they need to improve upon. I mean, we talked about PGMO failing miserably.
Ooh.
More on that later, I'm sure.
Yes.
We talk about pro, but when we talk about pro here, Chilowitz had a bad game. I think we all agree, right? The goal is how does the oversight help him improve, and how does the oversight work with the whole team? Because I don't think Chilowitz was the only problem in that game. I thought VAR and the AVAR missed an opportunity to have your center referee make a final decision on a controversial call.
Right.
Apparently, John, there is an angle that shows the ball from 7 yards away hit Harriel in the hip and then his outstretched arm, which a lot of people will argue negates a handball opportunity. I disagree. I don't think we use the deflection type thing in that type of manner, especially when you come to defending inside the box, or when you come to, if I were to have a ball hit my hip and then hit my hand and I still have possession of the ball, I would expect a handball call. If I have a ball hit part of my body, then hit my hand, and it denies a goal scoring opportunity, that's not absolves you from a handball, right? It needs to be a quick deflection, and usually that also comes from within a couple yards, if not feet away.
Right.
That was my issue with that interpretation, is I thought, oh, well, it hit his hip first. Well, he's still 7 yards away, and his arm is still 5 feet behind him. How does this absolve you? So that's one of those things from a pro standpoint that they need to work with the entire referee crew there to go, okay, how did we arrive at this interpretation, this conclusion? And did we interpret the laws of the game correctly in this situation? Because with the video review process, we have the opportunity to make sure we are using the most consistent interpretations of the laws of the game. And that does differ from league to league. It really does. And that's a problem that we can talk about from an overarching standpoint. But again, the goal is to be better, right? Not to blame Chilowitz for us losing, despite Atlanta looking like complete dog crap for about 40 minutes in that game,
Yeah.
If not more.
I'll take the 3 goals and 8, but sure. Okay.
But you can look at that game and go, well, had we got that penalty kick, maybe the game
state would have changed, and it would have been a different approach, so on and so forth.
Philly would have started complaining and dying and pulling hamstrings and crying, in the 16th minute, as opposed to
Correct.
The 17th, I think.
Yeah.
Is that
trying to goad you into cards,
right?
And make
So
sure.
yes, it's legitimate that the penalty kick the missed call on that could have changed the game. The also legitimate reason is that, and this is where I want people to understand, very rarely do referees have direct impacts on the results of games. Even when we talk about that Liverpool match, well, they still got 2 red cards that were one a little, we can debate it, but one was, Diego Jota earned those 2 yellow cards.
Yeah.
So again, did the referee really have an impact on the result of the game? Maybe. We don't even know, though, if Gakpo scores that goal to close out the half, if they've already scored the one before it down a man. So I think we all need to just take that step back and realize referees don't have that much impact on the result. But we do have, referees also need to take ownership that we do oftentimes impact game state by some of the decisions that we make that, as VAR has the opportunity to do, change the state of the game.
Dr. Joe Macknick has, when he has done public speaking, he has taken the rules of the game with him up on a dais. And do you
back when we actually had printed laws of the game that we got? Now we don't have printed laws.
When you had printed laws of the game, do you follow that same idea that you just showed there on camera about the rules of the game being flexible when it comes to being in book form, or is it a rigid book with a spine that is not supposed to be fixed in any way?
Well, 2 things. One, I was old enough to remember when we had a referee book as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the laws of the game, and then we had the white book, which was kind of the official procedures and interpretations and kind of guidebook for referees. Anyway, the answer to your question is yes, absolutely. We do this the best example I can give you is throw-ins. Okay. The laws of the game are pretty clear on what a throw-in looks like, where it should be taken, all these things. How often do you see a player, grab the ball and walk 5 to 10 yards upfield?
Yeah.
Now, in theory, I need to say, no, go back to this exact spot where the ball went out of bounds, because we all know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that a battle you need to be fighting every single time during a game, right? Now, there are some egregious, my joke is always, you need to at least start where the ball went out of play, because some people pick up the ball and walk 10 yards. And then
they'll go 10, run another 10, and they've gained 20 more.
And I'm like, well, wait a second here, but at the same time, I would never really think about if a player takes a ball 10 yards from behind. Abby, you're barking up the wrong tree. That I think we'll get into that too, but how many times have we seen a player take a throw in, 10 yards behind maybe where the ball went out of play, and no one ever bats an eye at that?
Yeah.
Well, that's technically not what we're supposed to do either. But again, it's just a battle I'm going to be fighting. Illegal throw-ins. We've gotten very liberal with the interpretation of what a throw-in should be. Be it players having both feet on the ground, and it's like, well, you can make an argument that both feet are on the ground at some point during the throw, and we move on. Or Weston McKennie is great. He's got like the one-handed, but like somehow 2 hands are on the ball, but only one arm's actually throwing. And it's like, okay, well, how did you actually do that? And we've kind of gotten away from that, because it is something that, as we look at, and this is where data and science, sports science comes into play. As we look at a lot of throw-ins, we've realized and learned that a throw-in is not really an advantageous opportunity for most teams. Most throw-ins result in a change of possession within 5 seconds. And even if you do, it's not like you're getting, unless you're Atlanta United, who loves to give off goals off of throw-ins, because we just choose not to pay attention on defense for most of the time. But it does not usually result in an advantageous attacking situation. Abby, I know you think that. I'm aware that you think that. And I agree that you are allowed to have that thought. I'm telling you, that's not something that we're truly looking for, because again, of all the things to worry about, of all the things we're looking for, most referees are not fully focused on the guy taking the throw, because there's 21 other people on that field who are probably doing something stupider.
So then should an AR keep his mind on a foul throw?
Well, in theory they do too, but what's an AR looking at? An offside line, possible stuff going on in front of him. Because though there is no offside on a throw-in, that offside line is still moving. And who knows what could happen if you have, a guy throws the ball into someone's head and then heads that to the guy who's in that offside position from the throw-in. He makes that run early. Well, I need to be aware of that too. So, I mean, again, I don't know, Abby, you think that was a foul throw and you're allowed to think that. I'm just telling you that that's not something that's going to come up as oh my gosh, this is a game-changing decision. I need to be fully focused on it. We've seen it happen. But the reality is most of the time people cry for a foul throw. It's not really a foul throw. Sorry. And when it comes, no, VAR is not taking, oh my good Lord.
Bam had to get in his shot.
No, we don't need VAR to intervene with that. And Abby, as I said, a change of possession that we probably would have also given back to the other team, as statistics and reports have shown that throw-ins don't really result in a continued period of possession for teams most of the time.
Yeah. With the PGMOL, Howard Webb has acknowledged disappointment from PGMOL at the unprecedented errors that led to a video assistant referee system denying Liverpool the legitimate goal against Spurs 10 days ago. He said that IFAB should consider adapting the rules of the game to create a window of time for reversing similarly egregious mistakes. Webb suggested Darren England, who was VAR that day, had gone through his checking process too quickly before accidentally confirming an incorrect offside decision against Luis Diaz. England also had failed to implement communication protocols effectively when relaying his decision to colleagues. Basically, the lack of a modifier is what we're talking about here with the English language and Darren England. Webb said the referee's body had since, and this is from our friends at The Guardian, Webb said the referee's body had since collectively addressed officials about the importance of following communication protocols and adding essential context when affirming or querying an on-field decision. Speaking on the program, Match Officials Mic'd Up, which reviews Premier League refereeing decisions using audio discussions between on-field officials and VAR, Webb said, quote, "Of course, we're all disappointed that the VAR system didn't step in to rectify a clear error. Nobody's more disappointed than the officials themselves. They take pride in their work, want to be a positive influence on the game. And, of course, in this instance, it wasn't the case." Clearly showed audio that England is going through the process pretty quickly. But the thing is, Bart, if you have modifiers, if you use your grammar correctly, then we don't have this issue. It's like
this is exactly where I land on it, Sean. Is I don't know that this is one instance, which I agree we should try to remedy, does not mean we need to change the entire laws of the game. As referees, we just need to find better ways to implement the laws of the game. So to your point here, all you needed to do was take 2 seconds to say check complete, not offside, or player on side.
mm-hmm.
And then at that point, hopefully the center ref goes, oh, not offside, or he was onside. Great. It's a goal. Or, okay, so not offside, he was onside, we have a good goal. And the VAR, the AR, whatever, they're all on the headset. Should be able to say, yeah, that sounds right. Again, I'm with you. This is a communication issue, not a laws of the game issue. This was referees trying to make this something that was secondhand as opposed to a legitimate decision-making process.
And Bam, by the way, can't wait for the A-League to start. So the first verdict, so Bart can have his head in his hands again. He's waiting. He's waiting for your migraine, your A-League migraine to start.
I hope it just doesn't come against my favorite A-League team, Brisbane Roar. So
let me ask you this: do you notice this year? And the WSL has had a massive spike in cards on average this season. Do you notice either more fouls or less fouls being called? It seems like less fouls are being called on this side of the pond. And is that a mandate that we are to have less fouls being called? How are you perceiving what's been going on this season with calling of fouls, the issuing of cards, and that kind of stuff? Because traditionally it's in like the mid-20s, but this year it's less.
I would say that it's not necessarily – so we don't mandate call fewer fouls.
Right.
That would not be the – but it's a instruction to the referees of how we want fouls to be called or how we want the game to be called. For example, we can talk about this. The Manchester City, who did they play? Game this past weekend, was it Chelsea? Where there were, 8,000 yellow cards and like 3 red cards given out.
8 yellow. Yeah, Man City, Chelsea, 8 yellows and 2 reds.
Yeah. That seemed to be a referee being very literal with the instructions given to her about how to caution people for time wasting, specifically poor Alex Greenwood. But she also did that with Kate McCabe in the first match of this. Like, this referee specifically seems to be like super on it.
Yeah.
And again, this is where pro or PGMOL or whoever, I don't remember who has authority over the women's side of things. I don't know if it's PGMOL or not. They will have, with the league, in accordance with the league, talk about how we want this game to be called, things that we want to be tighter, things that we want to be less stringent on. I mean, the NFL does this. We talk about this all the time. The NFL, the NBA, they're really looking for X, Y, and Z this year as opposed to what they may have been looking in past years. So it's not a mandate to call fewer or more fouls. It's about how we're calling the game. It's not a mandate to give more or fewer yellow cards necessarily. It's, okay, we want to really crack down on X behavior. So in this case, it's time wasting. And I've dealt with this. I had a coach who, in a U14 match, thought that the FIFA mandate of we need to be more stringent on yellow cards for time wasting applies to U14. And I was like, well, one, FIFA doesn't have mandate over here outside of the normal laws of the game. That's something. And 2, I'm not giving a yellow card to a teenager just because he kicked a ball. He kicked a goal after we blew him up for offside. Like, we're going to have conversations, right? He wanted an immediate yellow card. I'm like, I'm not giving a kid an immediate yellow card for continuing to play after the whistle. Will I have a conversation with him? Yes, because he's 14. If he's 23, if it's Abby's son, then yeah, we might be giving him a yellow card for it. And that's the other thing is, we have different levels of the game. I'm not going to give a yellow card or a red card necessarily to players for procedural things at the youth level where I need to have this explanation to them, right? Those things, though, at the higher level, we may not give them the grace that they think that they deserve.
It is the FA and the PGMOL that is a part of the WSL discussion. 12 games.
And NWSL has a couple of other, like, we have pro, but then we also have pro referees. Oh, what's the other one? I can't remember it now, but we have another one for NWSL, USL, stuff like that.
Okay. 12 games this season in the WSL, 43 yellows compared to 23 at the same stage last year, owing to clampdowns over time wasting and dissent.
Yeah.
And
and again, we saw that with time wasting, the yellow card was given more harshly. Now, again, I think that you, as a referee, need to take actions before giving the yellow card for time wasting. But I would also like MLS referees to crack down a little bit more on time wasting, because Lord knows that teams come into Atlanta and they waste time from minute 1. But as soon as Brad Guzan does it after we have a lead, then it's a greatest sin ever.
Yeah. We have posted the light board because we know we have gone over, and
Sorry,
but we are.
I ain't got nothing better to do, so.
But it is a. But we are not time wasting. It is just time that is added on because we have the discussion to make. Alex, Bart cares so much about the small people that I've committed a handball and he didn't call it.
See, and this is why we talk about those bendable rules, Alex. So I was refereeing his 5-a-side game here at Station Soccer, and the legit problem is I'm the only referee on the field, and I stand on the sideline, so my angles are not great, to be quite honest. I can't see everything. And I can't stand in the middle of the field because y'all will run into me and kick balls into me because the field's 3 yards wide. So but this is a great example of when we talk about bending rules. I mean, there are times that a goal kick is taken and that ball is, I mean, we all do it in the adult league where we kind of just spin it out there, or we drop it on the ground. It's still rolling, but I'm like, you know what? We're all aware this is a goal kick. You know, it's fine. Like, do I need to make, you know, I don't want you to dribble the ball and then take a goal kick, but if the ball is rolling a little bit and a 5-a-side game where they kick the ball 3 yards out, just outside a little goal area, is this a need to stop the game? Hey, we got to retake this.
You sit there and you go like this on a 5-a-side match.
No. But, you know, to Alex's point, you know, I might not see the handball, or it might be, I don't really want to know. I don't know if that's a full handball. I couldn't get a great look at it. Like, yeah, it probably was. Or I was just giving your team some, I was just giving your team the benefit of the doubt because y'all were losing by a couple goals.
Wow.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
They played well. They just couldn't score. They had a really good goal. They had an Atlanta United performance, dominated the play, and came up against a really good goalkeeper.
All right. So what other refereeing stuff did I not address this week that was on the table? Anything, or are we good?
No, I actually think we had a decent referee week. The WSL stuff was the one I really did want to talk about because that does come down to management and instruction, and that's you're going to have that different in WSL from NWSL to the Division or however you pronounce it in French or Liga MX Feminine. Like they're all going to be different because every referee body works with their leagues to make sure the game is played in the way that league wants it to be played.
Okay. Well, he is at SoccerForUSPod. He's going to be looking at a bunch of friendlies in a bunch of different places, especially the ones at 38th and Washington out in Phoenix, where Phoenix Rising are getting a paycheck, and they ain't even playing because you got to rent the facility. What's the latest with SoccerForUSPod and with you?
Well, we've got 2 games coming up. Obviously, the USA plays Germany on Saturday. That's a pretty big game in East Hartford, Connecticut. Hey, look, it's a sellout. I'm glad they sold out the 40,000 seat stadium. I'm a little unsure why we're playing in East Hartford. At Richler Field / Pratt and Whitney Stadium is old and
UConn football doesn't have a home game.
Yeah, well, they don't. Again, UConn doesn't really play football when it comes down to it, but it's we got that, and then next week on Tuesday you've got USA Ghana. I'll plug the American Outlaws Party on Saturday. We're doing an Oktoberfest celebration. Got some Stein specials and other things. So if you want to come watch the US-Germany game and celebrate Oktoberfest, come to Fido Midtown for that. And then so next week we'll record kind of a recap of what happened in these 2 friendlies, 2 legit teams, right? You get Germany, Ghana, 2 World Cup teams. One of them was good. One of them was Germany. And you hopefully learn a little bit more about your team. Obviously, Germany going through some changes. So we're not even quite sure what type of team Germany is going to put out there, to be honest. This is going to be interesting for Berhalter to do a little bit of coaching. You know, I don't know how much he will do, to be honest. I think that's my question, John, is a friendly. Do you try to truly adapt to Germany and set up to play against them? Or do you set up your normal lineup and say, okay, put out your best 11 and go have fun? It's an existential question that, you know, Greg has to kind of toy with because you've got Ghana on Tuesday. Hopefully you can dominate that game. I think that would be a nice sign if you're taking it to Ghana and really dictating the game and the tempo. That would be, I think, a good sign for Berhalter and the fact that his system might be actually kind of working.
And Fox Deportes, this has come across in the last little bit. Fox Deportes announces the acquisition of English language rights to the Mexican national team's complete schedule of friendlies through the FIFA World Cup of 26. Fox Deportes live coverage of El Tri begins with Mexico, Ghana on Saturday at 8:30 in Charlotte. Wow. Then Germany in Philly on the 17th. Looks like it's Rodolfo Landeros, Mariano Trujillo, and Adrian Garcia Marquez, who knows his music. And it's always fun to discuss Rush with AGM on the 280-character app. Bam, with a question before you go. Who's going to win between the 2 football powerhouses, Myanmar and Macau, tomorrow morning?
Oh, we're going to go with Myanmar.
Okay. I will look at.
I have no reason to believe one or the other.
Yes. So I will look up the juice boxes in that one before we go. But Bart, as always, thanks for coming on for Reffing Down here and going through all the national team stuff with us. It's always fun to catch up with you on Wednesdays. Be safe, my friend.
Hey, it's great to talk to you from the capital of U.S. soccer.
Yes. The Atlanta. Atlanta is a soccer city. And we have the scarf to prove it, by the way, here at SDH. We have the scarf to prove
there
it.
you go. We're gonna just claim that now and going forward. So
absolutely. It's been claimed. All right. Enjoy your coffee. Be good, my friend.
Bye, y'all.
He's going to continue what's going on with West Virginia. Let's see. So friendlies. You wanted I'm going to check the juice boxes on this one. International friendlies. So Myanmar and Macau. Let's see if we have juice boxes for this one, actually. Wow, do we even have juice boxes for Myanmar and Macau? Actually, is it? I don't think it's a friendly. Is it? I think it's an actual tournament thing. So Georgia and Thailand. Georgia's a big favorite against Thailand, by the way. We'll keep an eye on Sabalob Janidze. Thank you. Let's see. It's Asia. That's the Merdeka Cup. So World Cup qualifiers. I've got to find World Cup qualifiers in here somewhere. This is what happens. A World Championship 2026. Okay, let's see if it's there. Okay, yeah, Myanmar's a minus 5,000, by the way, Bam. So I wouldn't touch that one. Myanmar is a minus 5,000. Your 90-minute draw is a plus 1568 in the composite, and Macau is a plus 2884, courtesy of our friends in the composite at Odds Portal. That's 5:30 in the morning local time here on the East Coast. We will not be watching that one. Chinese Taipei favored against East Timor at 7 o'clock. Maldives favored at a plus 133 against Bangladesh at 7 o'clock. Singapore, big favorite over Guam at 7:30. Nepal favored against Laos at 7:45. Cambodia favored at a minus 156 against Pakistan at 8. Hong Kong and Indonesia, big favorites against Bhutan and Brunei. Afghanistan at 10 o'clock, favored against Mongolia. And Yemen is a big favorite against Sri Lanka at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's your qualifiers for tomorrow. Tomorrow, once again, Nico Moreno will be joining us at 10:30. We'll break down everything going on from his perspective in Major League Soccer. Trust me, I think we'll have a lot of news. We'll have a lot of stuff. 7 Atlanta United players coming from the team getting international call-ups for the October window. And it is Luis Abram, Thiago Almada, Gigi, Saba, Miles, Caleb Wiley. They've all been given their call-ups. Abram will join Peru for the qualifiers at Chile on the 12th, at home against Argentina on the 17th. Once again, we talk about Thiago Almada, October 12th against Paraguay, Peru on the 17th. Gigi Euro 2024 qualifying at Ireland, October 13th, home against the Netherlands on the 16th. Lob Janidze has the friendly on the 12th, what we've talked about, and then Cyprus in a Euro qualifier on the 15th. We talked about Miles and we talked about Caleb. So 6 United players getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 getting call-ups in the window for Atlanta United. So keep an eye on all that stuff. Winner of Maldives and Bangladesh goes into the Australian World Cup group. Would prefer the Maldives away. I bet you would. Maldives and Bangladesh. Maldives is a plus 134, so they are favored. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Quickly, I'm trying to see if there's any other news before we go. Let's see. Checking the papers from our friends at Sky, avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper, as we always do. Sir Jim Ratcliffe took a share of a £75 million dividend after the Mercedes Formula One team recorded a significant jump in profits. We mentioned Ivan Toney and Jenny Hermoso yesterday. Chelsea forward Nicholas Jackson has undergone a minor operation on his wrist, although he's set to be available for the visit of Arsenal when club football returns after the international break. PGMOL chief Howard Webb has been told he must urgently stop the practice of referees officiating games in the UAE or Saudi Arabia. Once again, part of the idea with the VAR and the AVAR in that the Liverpool Spurs match is that they were 7.5 hours away, reffing matches, flew out and then flew back, came in Friday night for a game Saturday afternoon. Keep an eye on that. Victor Francos, according to our friends at The Athletic, the Spanish Secretary of State for Sports, believes the men's national team could have done more to support the women's side following Luis Rubiales' kiss on Jenny Hermoso. West Brom midfielder John Swift will miss 6 weeks of action with a calf injury. Salernitana have appointed Filippo Inzaghi as their new head coach. We'll get word from Nick next time we catch up with him. Diego Alonso has been appointed Sevilla coach until the end of the year. Let's see. From the Telegraph, Football Association's slow response to the terror attacks in Israel has been condemned by its former chair, Jewish business executive David Bernstein. Spurs offering support to Manor Solomon over the Hamas attack in his country. FA chief exec Mark Bullingham expects Euro 2028 to transform facilities for the grassroots game after describing current standards in the country as embarrassing. That's your required requested reading for the day, the article in the Telegraph about it, because it was pretty nasty looking in the article in and of itself. Let's see. Guardian, Premier League clubs wary of being seen to take sides in the Middle East conflict, awaiting guidance from the league over how to commemorate the victims of the attacks in Israel. Daily Express, the Glazer family will remain Manchester United owners for the January window if they delay their takeover decision beyond November, according to reports. Donny van de Beek could make a return to the Eredivisie as he continues to be frozen out at Manchester United. From the Times, Jorge Vilda, World Cup winning coach, denied putting pressure on Jenny Hermoso to downplay the unsolicited kiss she received from Luis Rubiales, contrary to testimony that Jenny Hermoso has given about that. Let's see. Trent Alexander-Arnold has bizarrely name-dropped former Rangers and Hibs star Brandon Barker as one of the toughest opponents he's ever faced. And Rangers have yet to make a final decision on their new manager, from our friends at the Scottish Sun. So, busy day on about 98 different fronts. Thanks to Dylan. Thanks to Bart for hanging out with us. Talk about the NWSL final round of match day to get into the playoffs. It's going to be crazy from all indications. So it might be, if you haven't had the chance to catch the NWSL, watch Decision Day because there'll be a lot going on. UEFA is forced into stalling their plans to reintegrate Russia's U17 teams. Nick Ames from The Guardian. Surprise decision to accept junior teams and end a blanket ban on Russian sides in place since the country's invasion of Ukraine in February 22 came when a vote passed on 26 September. A UEFA executive committee meeting in Nyon yesterday had been due to discuss the issue again. Topic was pulled after the governing body accepted the efforts had hit a dead end. UEFA said the agenda point was withdrawn as no technical solution to allow Russian teams to play could be found. In particular, UEFA had examined whether Russia's U7 teams playing without any national flag or kit could enter the qualifying phases for the men's and women's youth tournaments. Proposal was widely unpopular, and at least 12 of the 55-member Fed said their teams would not play against Russian reps. Fallout from UEFA's decision to readmit Russia led one of its vice presidents, Karl-Erik Nielsen, to quit his role as chair of the Swedish Sports Confederation last week after it was revealed that he voted in favor. Sweden, which will host the UEFA Women's U17 finals in 24, has been among those steadfastly opposed to Russia's participation on the international stage and said it would not allow their presence if they qualified. So that's news out of UEFA going forward. Once again, I'm scanning to see if there's anything else that might have gone on, and if there's anything that I've missed. Wouldn't be the first time, and it certainly won't be the last. Let's see. We talked about what's going on with women's sports, and we talked about all of that. So I think we are officially caught up for today. Once again, we'll be back at it again tomorrow, 9:05. Nico Moreno joining us at 10:30. Later today, USL Championship, USL League One, MLS Next Pro Weekly. Those will be up. And later today, we're also going to catch up with our friends over at Atlanta United, Lena Saul and Marty Jellamy. And we're going to find out about what the season was like for the Unified team. So that'll be up as a 1v1 later on. Don't be surprised if there's some NPSL 1v1s, new franchise released in Hickory, North Carolina. Hickory FC is up and running, so we'll probably catch up with them in short order. And the notebook is going to get pretty crowded. So we'll see what's going on there. We've got a bunch of other things that we would like to do and folks that we need to catch up with. So tomorrow, once again, we'll be back at it again, 9:05. So from all of us to all of you, thanks for being at Oglethorpe last night. And thanks for hanging out with us this morning once again for another round of soccer down here, 9:05 Thursday morning. Since it's the end of the show, it means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy your day. Be safe. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. I'm actually going to have some lunch. And you do the same. We'll be back tomorrow. As the show ends in a complete and total train wreck. Bye.